Hey, Midwest Survivor, time for dinner chat. So, want to say thank you to everybody that has watched my videos thus far. Be sure to click the like and subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow on TikTok, Instagram, X, and of course my Facebook Shorts, which are always on there. So big shout out to everybody that is watching the content. There's always going to be more content to follow. Kind of been sketching some ideas for the book, Blood on the Altar. Still not really kind of brainstorming and kind of working on some directions on which way to go. So that whole process is taking its time, but that's writing, it's a process, it's a journey. So one thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and tonight's dinner chat video is going to be how to start rebuilding your life. Coming out of abusive situations, coming out of different situations, whether it's a job transition, whether it's a health issue, doesn't really matter what it is, but we all at some point in our lives have to rebuild our lives from situations. And rebuilding your life after emotional abuse, verbal abuse, whatever the situation may be, is not just one big decision. It's not just one big moment, but it's thousands, maybe even millions or tens of thousands of really, really small decisions. And the most important thing is that you start recognizing and realizing the need, the necessary requirement, for change. And the first thing that a person has to do is they need to stop deluding themselves and start telling themselves the truth. And more importantly, start telling the truth, telling yourself the truth, start seeing the truth, start speaking the truth, and start living your life truthfully, honestly, and sincerely. And that can look a lot of different ways, but one thing I want to encourage you is don't let somebody else's perceptions of your truth, the truth that you need to live, define you, shape you, or form you. I can honestly say that in my life, I did let people's perceptions shape me and change me, and I tried to live up to other people's perceptions of me, and that was my mistake. And now I'm living my own perceptions. I'm trying to see things clearly and concisely the way that they need to be done. The other thing is stop pretending that you're okay. The most important thing to remember in a person's life is you don't have to be okay. You don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have a direction. You can know just a few little things and be okay with that. You can say, hey, listen, I don't know what all the answers are. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I do know what's going to happen today. And you can live life one day at a time. I can honestly say that one of the hardest arguments I ever had growing up, and I realize now that the argument that I had growing up, I technically won, but I didn't realize it at the time. Somebody told me, well, you can't live life one day at a time. You need to have a plan, and you need to know this, and you need to know that, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. No, I didn't. And I'll say that directly to this person's face if I ever come in contact with them again or ever run into them again, and say, no, you were wrong. You were wrong. You can live life one day at a time. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have it all planned out. If you want to have it all planned out for yourself and have your life mapped out years and years and years in advance, that's fine. But don't push your perceptions of yourself on other people and get mad at them and get disappointed with them when they don't live up to your perceptions and expectations. That is wrong, that is messed up, and it's dysfunctional. And it causes dysfunction not only in the person that you're trying to force it on, but it causes dysfunction within yourself. So stop pretending that everything's okay. Start telling the truth to yourself. Start living a truthful life, not based on anybody else's perceptions or expectations, but on your own expectations and perceptions that you want for yourself. We all have wonderful minds, and we all have a mind that is shaped and formed for our own needs and our own requirements and our own perceptions. But yet there are sick people out there, twisted people out there, that think that it is their right and their place to make the world fit into their little corner and their little niche of life. And it's not true. It is not true at all. You know, every person has different needs, different experiences, different lifestyles, and they need to find their own path and their own way in life. And unfortunately, there are weak-minded, narrow-minded, hard-headed people out there that want to make the world like them in their image, and everybody follow their pattern for life. And I'm sorry to say, it doesn't work that way. So, you know, I started focusing on myself, and I started setting boundaries. And sometimes setting boundaries is easy, and sometimes it's hard. Some boundaries that I had to set in my life was I had to cut people out of my life that were forcing their perceptions on me, that were trying to tell me how to live my life, what choices to make, what I could do, what I couldn't do. And I had to say, you know what? No, I'm actually going to do what's best for me. And it doesn't matter what that looks like to you, and it doesn't matter what you think. If you think I'm doing wrong, or you think that I'm messed up or whatever, that's your opinion. You know, I've got my own opinions, and my opinions are different from other people's opinions, and your opinions are different from your opinion or from other people's opinions. And we all have our own minds and our own ideas and our own concepts and our own way of doing things. And trying to force somebody to do things the way that they think they should, and then not only that, but punishing people when they don't do it the way they want them to, distancing themselves from people whenever they don't meet expectations or they suffer disappointments. I can honestly say that there are people in my life that I have seen that were quote unquote helping people, but because they didn't, the people that they were helping did things the way that they didn't think that they should, they automatically cut them out of their lives and distanced themselves from those people. And it caused a lot of mishurt and misunderstanding and miscommunication between those people, and damaged those people because of it. And, you know, I'm all for helping people. I am. But help people genuinely. Don't force perceptions down people's throats. Don't say, well, you need to do this, 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 and this. That's not helping somebody. That's trying to take control of someone's life. And that is not what we are supposed to do as people. We're not supposed to control people. We're supposed to be kind and compassionate and help people as much as we can, and in a way that we can, not control people's lives. The other thing was I focused on my health. I focused on my physical health. I focused on my mental health, and I focused on my emotional health. And focusing on your mental health is very difficult, because sometimes it requires you to cut things out of your life that were familiar to you, that were comfortable for you, but necessarily weren't always the best thing for you. The other thing is that, you know, I had to take care of my physical health. You know, last Thanksgiving, I was almost 288 pounds, 288 pounds. And I felt horrible. I was having major health issues. I was having some things going on in my life, and I realized that I was physically unhealthy, and I started doing stuff about it. And right now, currently, I'm a size 36-inch waist, and I weigh approximately 210 to 205 pounds, and I am still doing my best to lose weight and get in shape, which is great. You know, healing is not a quick thing. It's not a simple thing, and getting healthy is not an easy thing. It's not a simple thing, and it doesn't happen overnight. You rebuild your life a piece at a time, a brick at a time, a stone at a time, and anybody that says that healing is immediate and quick, I would encourage you to be wary of that person, because healing is a process, and healing is something that is gradual and slow and patient. And you've got to be patient in the healing process. You've got to take your time. You've got to do it slowly and do it correctly. Otherwise, you will heal incorrectly. A broken bone, whenever it is broken, if not set correctly, can cause major issues. I mean, walking, movement, the release of bone marrow into your bloodstream and fat embolisms. I mean, just anything and everything can cause a problem. So healing is not a quick process. It's not an easy process, but let me tell you something. Healing when it's done right and done the ways that a person needs to heal is totally and completely 150 million billion trillion % worth it. No matter what it costs you, healing is worth it. So, and more importantly, as I've begun this process, and this will be a quick video tonight. I've had several videos that have lasted 15, 20 minutes. This is going to hopefully be a short one. The most important one is, I wanted to help people. There's so many resources out there for people, particularly women, that are going through situations, abuse and whatever, but there's none for men. And I want to bring this to light, and I want light to shine on this. There are men out there that have been hurting for decades and centuries, that have endured far more than what I have endured. And they've endured it silently, they've suffered silently, they've hurt silently. And I want to tell you guys, make this empathic dedication to every man that has been hurt, whether emotionally, physically, financially, whatever. You're not alone, and you don't have to suffer silently. You can talk about this. You can get together with other men and talk about what you're going through. But I would encourage you and implore you to be sure to have discussions with men that you trust, men that have your best interest at heart, men that want to see you grow and thrive and help you become healthy and strong, and encourage you to do and grow and become the person that you were always meant to be, not the person that pain and suffering caused, but become a strong man. I love the quote from Yellowstone about John Dutton. It's a coward's world made by cowardly people with coward rules and coward customs, and that is so true. We don't as men, we don't face off to things like we used to, and we don't confront things like we used to. We just suffer in silence because that's what was expected of us. And I'm sorry to say that as men, we don't have to suffer in silence. We can talk about these things, and we don't have to get all wishy-washy and waterworks and tears and stuff, but we can talk about things rationally and logically and emotionally and not feel bad or guilty about doing it. But we can do it with an open heart and an open mind and find answers and help for one another. So, that's why I've written Behind the Silence. That's why I have written Rebuilding After the Storm. That is why I'm writing Blood on the Altar, because I wanted to help other men just like me that either before me or after me have undergone or are undergoing the same situations or worse situations than what I'm going through right now, as an encouragement, as a way to help men, as a way to help people to understand and bring light to this issue. You know, I think one thing I want to start doing here on top of Dinner Chat is I want to roll out a new series called 60 Seconds of Healing, and I want to post a video every day. I'm probably going to do it on Facebook, TikTok, X, and Instagram, and basically post one video a day answering questions like, what is gaslighting? Can emotional abuse happen in a church? Can any kind of abuse happen in a church? How do you rebuild your confidence after getting away? Why do abusers blame the victims? What does healthy love look like? What do healthy relationships look like? And then how do you set boundaries efficiently, and how do you do it without guilt? And more importantly, many others. So that's all for tonight. Midwest Survivor, concluding Dinner Chat. I'm going to leave you just the way I found you. I want you to stay strong. I want you to stay healthy, eat healthy, read healthy, be healthy. And I'll see you tomorrow at Dinner Chat. Y'all take care. Have a good night.